The tiered salary system, video number 4. This video will describe some of the details of the system, including how salaries are generated and how rookies and trades are handled. There is a fixed amount of money contained in the salary cap. The tiered salary system offers a more equitable, consensus-driven format for how this money is divided up between the players. Current salaries are a sum of the individual negotiations between players and teams. Some of those contracts turn out to be fair in that a player's athletic value matches his salary. Quite a bit of money turns out to be, quote, dead money, given to athletes no longer on the team. According to SpotTrack, dead money amounted to nearly $770 million in 2019, or roughly 12% of the entire salary cap. Dead money doesn't include overpayment. Overpayment is money paid to players currently on the team, but whose athletic value is clearly lower than his salary, generally from a misjudgment which became apparent over the life of a long-term contract. In the tiered salary system, salaries are predetermined for each tier. In the ideal use of the system, the salaries are on a ratio between tiers, so they easily adjust to new levels as the salary cap increases over time. This avoids having to renegotiate salary levels during the off-season. All teams do have the exact same salary structure. Of note, the greater the number of tiers, meaning fewer players per tier, the more accurate the salary reflects the true athletic contribution of the individual player. However, fewer players per tier also means more movement of players during the off-season. The right number is a balance. This shows a sample salary distribution in the tiered salary system with a set ratio among the tiers. These salaries were figured using a salary cap of $188 million and a salary ratio of 12, 8, 5, 3, 2 to 1 for the 6 tiers. The 6 tiers have 8 players in each of the first 5 tiers and 13 in the last tier, so the salary cap was spread among 53 players per team. This graph compares the previous tiered salary distribution to the current salary distribution. Using that tiered formula, the peak salaries are quite a bit less than with current salaries, though most players would make more. A wide variety of results could be obtained by varying the number of players per tier and varying the amount of salary per tier. It should be emphasized that there is no need for all the tiers, or most of the tiers, to have the same number of players. The tiered salary system cannot be judged fairly without the inclusion of the superstar bonus. Without the superstar bonus, all players on the same tier would receive the same salary. If there are 8 players on tier 1, that would mean that the top 256 players in the NFL would get the same salary, which isn't likely to be just. This is better corrected by a postseason incentive payment rather than trying to carve out a few players in the preseason to earn more money as star players. These postseason incentive payments reward those who should be rewarded, but it doesn't impact the assignment of players. The superstar bonus can be configured in an infinite number of ways to allow money to distribute the way consensus says it should be distributed. This is that same tiered salary distribution we looked at a moment ago with a peak salary of nearly $9 million. This is the same tiered salary curve modified by a sample superstar bonus. In this particular bonus, 10% of the entire payroll is set aside and given to the top 4 players of each team. The top player gets 40% of the superstar bonus, the second player 30%, the third player 20%, and the fourth player 10% of the bonus. This allows the top salary on the team to exceed $15 million. With a superstar bonus, it would be possible to make the top salary $50 million if consensus says that enough money should be set aside to make that happen. This graph compares the current salary curve and the tiered salary system with and without the superstar bonus. The tiered salary system can be configured to conform to virtually any shape that consensus decides. The total league salary is fixed by negotiation, and the superstar bonus allows it to be distributed any way that the league, meaning the players and the owners, wish it to be distributed. The superstar bonus doesn't have to be distributed equally to all teams. For example, it can be given to players who earn All-Pro status or league-wide statistical leaders, and that wouldn't be equally distributed among all teams. It could also be distributed to teams with regular season or playoff success as a financial incentive. It's very possible that peak salaries would be less in the tiered salary system. However, peak earnings can come earlier with the tiered salary system. In the NFL, players aren't eligible for free agency until they have completed their 4-year rookie contract. With a tiered salary system, Tier 1 earnings can start 3 years earlier with the second year in the league. Even if peak earnings per season may not be quite as high with the tiered salary system, career earnings may be much closer to current levels. There would likely be a concern that financial security is compromised without long-term contracts. However, free agency protects players inconsistently depending on how the contract is structured and when an injury or retirement takes place. Thus, financial security is inconsistent. Severance pay is a feature which can provide known, more consistent security in the tiered salary system. Money can be set aside from the ordinary salary cap and provide a known, predictable, reliable payout when the players leave the league. Payment can be based on years of service or any other parameter desired. The payout wouldn't depend on random timing of an injury. From a financial security standpoint, this is a better option than the security offered by free agency. Severance pay comes out of the salary cap, so it would mean a reduction in regular pay in exchange for receiving part of one's salary upon leaving the league. It is, in essence, forced savings. It's an option, but it cannot be called a recommendation. At best, it is an answer for concerns that the tiered salary system comes without any financial contingency or security. Like other aspects with the tiered salary system, rookies and practice squads can be structured to suit the league and player preferences. What is presented here is one of the preferred approaches, but options are numerous. After their rookie year, the newly minted second-year players can be matched to any tier. A variation of that plan is to have top draft picks available to match at higher tiers. For example, if the NFL does have 6 tiers, then first-round draft picks can be matched starting with Tier 3 or 4, second-round draft picks in the tier after that, and the majority of the draft picks only available in Tier 6. There's also the option that second-year players cannot be matched to Tier 1 or possibly not matched to Tier 2. In other words, you have to be in the league a certain number of years before getting the highest salary. That option is somewhat discouraged, as a player who has played in the league for a year may have very well earned the right to a Tier 1 salary based on his performance. The players of the practice squads can be obtained several ways. They can be signed outside the match, with a match reserved for the 53-man regular squad. They can be matched as a separate tier after the last tier of the 53-man squad. Also, the bottom tier and the practice squad can be matched as a group, and preseason camp can be used to determine who stays with the regular team and who is assigned to the practice squad. This can be conformed to suit league preferences. Trades can easily be performed in the tiered salary system. Current team status is what is traded. Trades do not need to involve the same number of players or the same tier levels. It is very possible for a team to have a Tier 1 player it will not have room for in the upcoming match. That Tier 1 player may be traded for a Tier 3 or 4 player who who would be an improvement for the team on the lower tiers. Trading mid-season is admittedly difficult. Trading a player to another team for a player at the same tier is definitely possible. Trading players at different tiers opens the issue of some teams having a higher salary than another team, or this could result in a mid-season salary demotion for a player. In general, mid-season trades are discouraged. Trading should be no problem between practice squads. This can allow a team to get more backup players at certain positions if need be. One of the recognized flaws of the tiered salary system is that a talented player can be retained indefinitely by the team that drafted him, which is a problem if the player does not want to stay with that team long term. It is possible to create a mechanism where a player may request a trade to an agreeable team at a few defined points of his career. If a trade cannot be worked out by the usual negotiation, binding arbitration may be used to force a trade on the player's behalf. This should only be allowed a relatively few times in a player's career. The limited number of options for players in the tiered salary system is really not much different than with free agency. With the current system, rookies sign 4-year contracts. Even when those contracts are completed, they are still limited to teams that need their particular services. It is not as though free agency allows players to choose anywhere they want to go. Another option worthy of brief mention is the comprehensive match. It is a different format for the match, the default format being the tier-by-tier match previously described. In the tier-by-tier match, Tier 1 is matched first. Upon completion, Tier 2 is matched, and so on. In the comprehensive match, all the tiers are selected simultaneously. Each team views each tier of each player with its own separate color. In the example of Bob Jones, the team knows it must use a Tier 2 or Tier 1 selection to select Jones. Smith is pending at Tier 4. Any team at Tier 3 or a higher priority team at Tier 4 may still select him. James is matched and cannot be selected by anyone else. In general, this format is not encouraged, but it's an option if preferred by the league and the players. There are many details associated with the tiered salary system. In general, there is a great deal of flexibility to allow a league to create a system which suits its preferences. Video 5 will have some concluding comments.